Common sense isn't gone. It just needs a comeback. Common Sense Superheroes with David and Greg.
And we'll never be royals. It doesn't run in our blood. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. I don't remember the rest of the words. The Royals are coming in town. That is Lord who sings Royals, and the Royals are in town. We'll get into that. I am your host, David, and Common Sense Superheroes, episode 31, episode Greg Maddox, the Mad Dog. And across from me is the bearded one, Mr. Gregory Miller. Greg, what's going on, bud?
You gotta give some love to Mad Dog, man. That cat was he was a unique dude, man. He absolutely looked like he was about as athletic as your random accountant. But truth be told, that guy was pretty good across the board at a lot of different sports. And for a guy who looked like nothing at all, man, he had major league hitters absolutely baffled for about 15 years.
Great golfer, and he's the first person that people say when they talk about it, it's not about velocity. But even in that little documentary I saw, he will tell you that he was throwing 90 in high school. So he got noticed via his velocity, and then he worked on positioning and location rather. But he came too early for me, and I enjoyed watching him and I loved it. But now, as a guy who has to stay up late and watch the Braves, and I need an early bedtime, I sure could go for one of them Maddox, like, hour, 40-minute games. Like,
So
sometimes he'd be like, before you know it, you're like, "Oh, the game's over? Like, what the hell?"
let me present something hypothetical to you, and this may put you on the spot a little bit, but with the current ABS system, is Mad Dog even good in this generation?
Probably. There would be a lot that would not go his way. He got calls
That
based on
dude
his
was getting strike
reputation.
calls 8 inches off the plate
He
some games.
definitely was getting that, and you earned that, especially back in those days. It's like Jordan getting an extra step or 2, or even LeBron getting, like, extra 5 steps. You earned that right, and back then, he earned that right to get about a good 3 inches off the plate. That two-seamer would just take off and go out there, and they'd call it.
I I'm just telling you as a guy who was a better hitter than a pitcher, so I viewed baseball from that particular angle more. That dude for about 10 years could throw pitches in locations that you could not hit, and they'd still be called a strike, and I don't know what you're supposed to do with that.
There's been some doozies. Not like the Marlins, I believe, in that 98 or maybe 9 whatever. They got all those calls that were ridiculous. You go back and
Oh,
watch that.
the Levon Hernandez game is the worst
You're like,
officiated game ever.
in the hell is going on here? That was unbelievable. I wish ABS would have been that kicked out of the league. He should be kicked out of the league, that damn ump. That was unbelievable. But that's not what we're here to talk about, although we could, because the Braves are still rolling, big dog. Still rolling. They take on gonna be a tough one tonight. I believe they got Scooble pitching. But Spencer Strider is technically back with the Braves now. His next start will be in a Braves uniform. Sean Murphy's still working it out in Gwinnett, but I don't think they've set a date yet. But Spencer Strider will be back pitching. Tonight's against Tarek Scooble, who's the best pitcher in the game, if you ask me, him and Chris Sale. So, gonna be hell.
Tarek is nasty. I wish we could have seen a little bit more of him back in the World Baseball Classic. And it's funny because he's not a guy that I remember following early on in his career, and then it just seemed like in the last year and a half, 2 years, that dude has just become virtually unhittable. And I mean, I've sat there and, again, as somebody who my pride was more in my hitting than my pitching. I mean, when you get a chance to watch that dude deal for an entire game, it's just ridiculous to see how he sets up his pitches. In fact, he can throw it, 98, 100 miles an hour at your chest and you can't touch it, and then break off a 90-mile-an-hour
Changeup.
slider to make you look like an idiot. It's just, again, we talked about it a little bit on the last episode that there was a time back in the day that go, man, I'd like to dig in the box against somebody like Greg Maddox. He made me look silly, but I wouldn't be intimidated. I don't want any part of getting in against Tarek Scooble or Chris
No.
Sale.
Absolutely not. Chris still scares me. I would be jumping out of my bones, especially if I was a left-handed batter. I don't know how you hit him as a lefty because it starts out, past your hip on the right side and then just slings over. It's unbelievable. But Tarek Scooble, couple buddies of mine that we talk Braves all the time are thinking, man, if AA can somehow work some magic. I don't now listen, we're not going to get him long term. We're not going to throw around that kind of cash, but his contract is due up the end of this year. And if he's not going to sign with Detroit maybe want to deal him. I don't know, but having Tarek Scooble to go into the playoffs in a Braves uniform would be, man, that'd be awesome to have him, Sale, possibly a Strider. But the king of wishful thinking. That's the king of wishful thinking. That's me wishful thinking because I don't think it's going to happen. But if it did by chance, just rent him for a year. I'd take it.
Well, I think the only hang up I would have, or the only kind of, playing devil's advocate, so to speak, is, obviously you have to factor in what you have to give up to get a guy like that. And knowing that it's pretty much a short-term rental, I think you still have to look out of the West and go, man, can we still beat the Dodgers even with him? Now, obviously,
I'll
you
give
give me
him.
in any series, if you give me Sale, Strider, and Scooble, I'll take my chances against anybody on the planet. But I mean, the Dodgers ain't throwing out, chump change out there on the mound either. And that lineup is just ridiculous from top
Man,
to
we
bottom
pretty
still.
much got the same record. I'm just saying, don't let it fool you. I will give them Jerickson Profar. They can have him now. I'll pack his bags up for him, straight up. The Tigers may be trying
That's
to
the
get
first
rid
time
of
I've
him and
heard
just
his
try
name
to.
mentioned this year.
Because he better be thankful that we're not sucking it up. Because if we were, he'd be mentioned a whole hell of a lot more. But we're not because we forgot about him. I don't even care about you no more. I don't want to see you in a Braves uniform ever again, Greg.
I don't think you have to worry about that. I think he's done in Atlanta.
Greg, when there's a shooting or a possible attempt on a shooting or anything, let's be honest here. The first thing we say is, "Oh man, please don't be a white dude. Please don't be a white dude." That's what all
No,
us
first thing I
white
say
guys
is I
say.
am 100% certain that if we had better gun laws, that would have stopped it.
Yeah, because that's the case. Because Washington D.C. and those lax gun laws that they got, it doesn't matter, guys. You can't. It's not the gun laws; it's the craziness. But anyways, my point is, you're saying like you don't hear a lot about this guy's race. If it was a white dude, I'm saying we might have heard about it a little bit, but I was like, please don't be a white dude. However, he is. When I saw him run through the security gate, I was like, that ain't no white dude because the dude had some wheels. I'm saying sign him up. He could have played ball somewhere. The dude could
I mean,
move.
he absolutely looked to be more athletic and coordinated than any of the Secret Service agents that he was dealing with.
Yes, he did by a lot. But he is a mixed guy, and you don't hear that. Which I mean, I'm glad that they're not throwing it out there. But I find it funny that Obama also has a white mom, and they're quick to say like, "Oh, well, if you part black, you all black." Well, they ain't saying it now. They're not pointing that out in this scenario.
You have a valid point, and obviously race is still something that is way too focused on in our society. But I don't know, man. It's gotten to be such a common and prevalent thing with this assassination culture and all this crap from the left. Honestly, when it's announced now, I don't even factor in or think about what race it is because it's not going to matter. White, black, green, or yellow, they're going to make it somehow about something that it's not. And that's the end of it. I mean, it's I don't I mean, I know this is easy to say and hard to prove. I promise you, David, I don't give two shits what color somebody's skin is. I judge somebody based on their actions, based on the way they put themselves out there into the world. Now, you can certainly attribute certain commonalities that there are certain proponents, and I don't think pointing out facts and noticing trends makes you a racist. But when it comes to somebody doing something bad, I don't care what race they are. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter to anybody.
It should not, and it did not. I only brought it up because I wanted to put in a joke about the fact that he's way too damn fast to be a white guy, and he made those white Secret Service guys look silly. And I think we got to start having questions about the Secret Service. I know there's the DHS holdout. Apparently, they're like, we ain't got the money because we're still, that shutdown and DHS. But this is like the second assassination attempt where they're shooting at a guy and he does not get hit. I don't know how
Yeah.
you don't. I mean, are we not shooting? We're not having target practice as Secret Service.
Well, I think that perhaps what we're more guilty of, and this may be a little bit of a controversial take, I think our society probably overinflates the quote unquote badassery of the Secret Service. I mean, if you think about what they really do, they're just a logistics company they're dealing with transportation and it's basically a low level security company. do the homework. None of those guys are. I mean, I say none. Most of those guys are not your Green Beret, Navy SEAL, Delta Force types. It's just not who they are. Most of those are guys that are very comfortable wearing a suit and dress shoes, talking into a microphone, and trying to coordinate the president and the cabinet and the vice president and all their travel. But I don't know that there's a whole lot of field training that goes into the Secret Service. Now, I bet you that shit changes in the coming years and
I hope
becomes part
so.
a much bigger element of recruiting and training. I just think it's something where for so long the Secret Service, because I mean, let's be real, they look cool as shit, man. The black jackets, the glasses, like they look like you don't want to mess with them. And I think that image for so long just carried it to where people just didn't try shit with the Secret Service because they look so darn intimidating, and we assumed that they were a bunch of bad A's. I just think they're not. I think that's not who they were. I don't think that's necessarily who they're designed to be, but maybe we should start making it that way.
I want them to be. I want them to be badasses. You got to talk to your elbow. I mean, talk to your hand. That's pretty badass.
Well,
We came a long way
the
from Clint Hill jumping on the back of Kennedy's car.
the demonstration we saw in Butler, Pennsylvania, sold me on the
Oh,
fact that they're
gosh.
not a bunch of badasses,
No, that one chick, like, she was holding the gun sideways. She's like, I don't know what I'm doing.
and they couldn't figure out how to get it back in her holster when everything was done. No, that is look, DEI at
It's
its
a bad
finest.
look.
But I think perhaps the image of Secret Service has been far greater and superior to what the reality of it has been.
They mainly handle like fraudulent money, like counterfeit money. They do that as well. I'm like, no, I just want the presidential secret. I don't count you as Secret Service unless you're on presidential duty. Even though I know they do a whole hell of a lot more than that. But I'm thinking of presidential Secret Service. You got to be a badass. Now, I will say the dude jumped up in front of the president and just stood there, basically waiting to get shot. That's pretty badass. I, if I sign up and they're like, "Hey, I want you. You're this guy." I'm like, "Is there nobody else? Can I like go grab JD or something? Why I gotta just go stand up in front of the president like this?"
Well, yeah, it's not necessarily the most glorious job in the world, and I guess at some point it just becomes so ingrained in the training, and that's part of the process that I think it becomes second nature. I think for those guys, jumping in front of the president would be no different than you or I jumping in front of our wife or kids. Like I think it's just been so ingrained to the process, and I think it becomes part of the character of those individual agents. So yeah, on one hand, I can knock them and say these aren't your Delta Force badasses like we all hoped they were, but they're willing to be a human shield, and that counts for something.
I hate to sound like Dumb and Dumber because you're like, well, you got a vest on, but on, much like on Dumb and Dumber, it's like, but what if they shoot me in the face? It's like it's a damn good point. I mean, what if they shoot you in the face? That was a risk we're willing to take.
I have never taken a round with a vest on, but I got to imagine that still stings a little bit
It
and
still
doesn't feel
hurts.
real
It's
good.
not a good feeling knowing somebody's shooting at you. But I can't believe that this is the second one because I believe the guy on the golf course they were shooting at as well. And then now this guy they shot at and didn't hit him. I mean, he's right there in front of you. I don't get it. And they're not even sure. They haven't 100% put out the fact that the guy that did get shot, the Secret Service agent, it could possibly be friendly fire and not from the guy's gun. So
I mean, again, I'll take the side of defending the agents in this case of as someone who I'm a Second Amendment believer. I've got a handful of weapons here in my arsenal, and I fire them fairly regularly. But I will say now, hitting a moving target with a handgun is not as easy as they make it
it
seem in
is
the
not.
movies.
It is
And
not.
again, I think that's another one of those things. Maybe we're all guilty of overinflating the expectations and the image because of what we see on TV and what we see in the movies. They're the bullshit of Danny Glover hitting 100-yard shot with a snub nose like revolver. It ain't real, man. I'm telling you, that's
It's
movie
not.
stuff.
It
That
is
does not
very
happen.
hard. However, you
And
would
again,
think Secret Service would be able to do that. Is all I'm saying. That
well,
close
and again, that
range.
maybe that should be something that they should work on moving forward. Now, the other side of it, you would think with 5 or 6 of them taking shots, somebody would have clipped that dude at
I
least.
mean, at least take off a toe or something.
But no, and again, you hope that it doesn't come out that the one major injury or near incident was friendly fire. But at this point, it would not surprise me.
I knew back when Obama was president and they heard about somebody jumping the White House, the gates of the White House and running basically up to the front porch, and they ended up tackling the guy like right before he got to the door. I knew it was different than what I expected or imagined in my brain. Because in my brain, I'm thinking, you jump the White House fence, there's like 5 guys mowing you down almost immediately, and that's not the case. I think this guy was off a little bit, so thank God they didn't. But at the same time, I'm like, it shoulda happened. That way they know you can't do that. The badassery of Secret Service is there, but it's not as much as I thought it was. I assumed, like, machine guns coming out the top of the White House. You know, you hear all the rumors, but just a little disappointed.
Well, I get it, and I'm not disagreeing with that take because it's not a part of me that I'm proud of, but from a simple, justice and compliance standpoint, and using a moment like that to hopefully instill better values to move forward. There's part of me that I would have loved to see him jump on it and literally beat the you know what out of him until he could no longer breathe. Because again, I'm not saying that's the right answer, but that maybe at least gives the next person second thought before doing something stupid
Why
like
isn't he
this.
bloody? Why isn't he bloody to the pulp, bloodied up pulp? Nobody's kicking him. Nobody. I know they ripped his clothes off to check see if he had anything like a bomb or whatever. But I'm like, throw an elbow on him or something. He's gonna have a little crooked tooth at least if I'm over there. That's all I'm saying. You gonna bust
Yeah.
up
Oh,
in
I mean,
with
even
that
even
many
if I
people there?
even if I'd have just been a guest in attendance, like once they had him secure, I'd have been tempted to walk by and throw a random shot at him. Like again, look, let's hope that this comes to fruition and he spends the rest of his life in jail or somehow contained the way he should. But I'm just saying, I think in our society, we might do well if we had a little more instant karma and instant justice where people realize, hey, the whole FAFO thing is still legit and stupid decisions should have consequences and stupid decisions should hurt. We've gotten way too far away from the idea of stupid decisions being painful. No, stupid decisions should be painful. That's how you learn not to repeat them.
We spoke about the badass that jumped up in front of President Trump and like basically held his chest out, waiting to get shot, covering him up, which is their job. I like it. Tell me that you saw the guy, and I think he's just an agent for like a talent agency. The guy that when all this shit was going down and everybody was jumping behind the chairs and jumping under the tables, my man was just sitting there nonchalantly eating his salad. Old white guy just eating his salad, didn't have 2 cares in the world. He's like, "Whatever happens, happens. I'm gonna keep eating my salad." Respect, my man, respect.
I have long since been wrestling with the fact that sometimes, I have such a deep level of faith right now that I think sometimes I come across completely apathetic because I kind of got the whole mentality of, hey, God's got this. What do I care about? That's a whole different level there. Like I think that even
Mm,
even with my level of God's got this under control, if there's random gunfire in my vicinity, I'm probably taking cover.
man sitting there drinking his wine. He's like, "You know what? It's paid for. I'm gonna go ahead and take a drink." I gotta respect that. That's a big dog. Speaking of respect, there was a lot of respect shown to what I thought was a bad thing. I mean, based on all the rallies and the protests that I saw, I thought we were no kings. Am I crazy in that regard? But yet, King Charles shows up, and all of a sudden, people who were at these no kings rallies and talking about no kings up there just giving them a standing ovation.
Yeah, I mean, it's just rare to see such hypocrisy from the left, David. This is just it's unheard of where they'll say one thing and then 3 weeks later do something completely different. It's just more proof that all of it is just political theater. None of it's real. None of it has an ounce of substance to it. That dude's over here telling us that, Congress is supposed to provide the checks and balances for the president. And Congress has been worthless for 50 years. They can't provide checks and balances on nothing because they don't want to do anything. All they want to do is organize votes so that nothing ever gets passed, but they can keep getting elected. And they just rotate in circles about who votes for what so that nothing ever gets done, but they all stay in power. Uh, Look, I don't want to disrespect the king. Like uh, we do take a lot of what's good in our society came from what we learned from the country of England and from being birthed out of that country and that nation. So no disrespect, but don't come over here telling us, look, go spend some time in London and then tell me you want to be taking advice from that guy, right?
No, I mean, like I said before, he's not my king. I mean, obviously for obvious reasons he's not, but also like I like his mama. I liked his mama, his mama. That was my jam. I mean, maybe it's nostalgic or what, but I just appreciated her. I can't look at Charles and be like, "That's the king. That's the king." And I damn sure, and I understand she's not the queen per se, but I ain't calling Camilla queen. It ain't happening.
Well, and I think, part of it is, and the whole Charles and Diana and Camilla, that the whole royal family for the last from that generation on has been so scrutinized and so publicized that, with the paparazzi, they just can't get away from anything. But I think that kind of jades our opinion a little bit too, because any of us that have known or done any research on that royal family, we all know they did everything in their power to keep Charles from ever becoming king. They did not want him. They were doing everything we could to keep
Elizabeth
mom
tried her
alive.
damnedest.
Look,
She tried her damnedest.
nobody
She's
wanted
like,
Charles to
"Please
be
let me
king.
outlive this guy."
But it's just the whole monarchy at this point is somewhat a paramount figment of what our whole society is. It's just fake. There's nothing real about it. And you think about it that and our country celebrating his being here. This is a guy who has done nothing and contributed nothing worthwhile,
He had a
who
job at how
lives
long?
a supremely wealthy lifestyle on the backs of the hardworking people in his nation. He's their version of Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, listen, he hadn't had a job till he was like 75. He did not have a job. He just was
And that
like
job
the
comes with
Prince
no
of
authority or
Wales.
power whatsoever.
Yes, all you do is like basically, yep, that sounds
Yeah.
good. The
Be
pomp
rich and
and
act rich. That's the
circumstance,
job.
the pomp and circumstance, and the pageantry that we showed out for him yesterday and for the Queen is overkill. Obviously, I understand you have to do it because that's kind of what they do when we show up there. But that is just unreal. I'm like, what are we doing? This is such fake. I would
So
if
here's my
if he was at the
proclamation.
Mall of Georgia, I don't know if I'd go see him.
If a crystal ball says late 2027, Donald Trump's going to invade England, so when he resigns from the presidency, he can then become the king they've always said he was going to be.
Yeah, well, that's a smart
If we
move.
invade England, he would have to be a king there, right?
And maybe he'd get a standing ovation from Congress if he comes back over here. Maybe Ilhan Omar will be like, AOC, giving them all the hand clapping, all the praise for the king, because we're no kings, baby.
Well, let me preface this and say we will be in World War 11 before we have a king in this country.
We are not having a king, people, and now you're wasting your damn time doing it. All it is make people think you look silly, which you do out there throwing out no kings protest. Um,
I had a guy that I know personally, when they were talking about all the No Kings protests and then it started being released how much of it was funded and organized and all this stuff. And this guy made a Facebook post that said, "I just want to verify I attended the No Kings rally and did not get paid." And I'm going, brother, that ain't the bragging you think it is. I go, now not only did you look like an idiot, but you look like an idiot for free when other
I was
people were
gonna
getting
say,
paid to do it.
maybe he was not pointing out the fact. He was like putting a question out there, like, "Hey, I didn't get paid. My check ain't came yet." Maybe he was looking to get paid. Maybe he's like, "I went and did y'all stupid bidding. Now I got to get paid for it." Speaking of getting paid for it, the FBI is invading Minnesota as we speak to try to
Thank
find out
God Tim
this
Walz
fraud
uncovered
issue.
all that stuff.
He came all out saying that there's nothing going on. You're wasting your time up here. Well, now that they're going up and actually finding that the learning centers are really not learning centers, he's jumping out talking about that's the state is the one that pretty much got this in charge and is handling this fraud issue. So the state is really doing well. You can't try to claim victory at this, buddy. You fought it tooth and nail. Don't even hide it. But they are going up and trying to find as much fraud as they can. Hopefully by now, not hopefully, but you would think by now that they would clear out any kind of evidence that they had, given this much time has gone by.
One would assume so, and it's hard. I think we have to guard our emotions a little bit on stuff like this, and move forward with maybe some cautious optimism. Your hope is that the Minnesota stuff can lead to some investigations in other places like Maine and California and some of that, and
California
we
is
can
supposedly the
hope
main one.
that hopefully this crosses the finish line and we see the kind of outcome that is deserved and warranted. Same thing with the other stuff. The one of Fauci's right hand guys is being indicted and being questioned, and you're hoping that maybe they don't get him for something. Maybe they put some pressure on him and he rolls on some guys. There's some good signs But I'm still jaded at this point. I just don't, I mean, these guys have always been like Teflon. I just don't believe anybody from that elite ruling class will ever truly be punished the way somebody like you or I would if we got caught doing something like that.
Well, Fauci, he got pardoned from the past and the present and the future somehow. I don't know how you could do that. That's apparently what was able to accomplish with a senile Joe Biden that passed it, which I'm like, I wonder why they just got to be pardoned for all this stuff nobody's even charged them with anything. What are we pardoning them for? They know. They know what the deal is. Just
Well,
like back in
didn't Joe spend about 2 years swearing to us that he wasn't going to pardon Hunter?
Oh, yeah. You see how that happened? And then when does he do it? Right as the inauguration is taking place where nobody's paying attention. He ain't stupid, Joe. Joe got a little brain in him left. Probably didn't sign it. Probably auto pen, which is they tried to get that thrown out because of the fact that it was auto pen. But
Well, there's still the rot still runs too deep, even with the election, and even with winning the overall vote. I mean, the popular vote. It's still there's still so many holdovers and so many leftovers in that big state and in the deep state, so to speak. And I just think it's hard to get anything like that to really have any legs. But hopefully, like I said, whether it's the Minnesota fraud issue or whether it's James Comey or whether it's the stuff with Fauci and the COVID stuff, at least we're getting some semblance of some movement in the right direction. And if nothing else, it at least helps validate a lot of what guys like you and I have been knowing and saying for the last decade. Because at least now it's coming out. I go, no, y'all kept telling us we were wrong. I mean, how many times? I mean, I can speak for myself. I had posts removed from Facebook and X for the COVID shit, saying where it came from, and that's a scary thing to think. We weren't, but a few years ago, having people posting true statements and getting them removed from the internet.
let's let's don't go too deep into COVID this one because I think we need to put the COVID and the craziness that happened with that in a whole episode itself. So save that for future because I got my own takes on a lot of that. But I'll just say this. After I said this, I'm talking about when homeboy Xi Jinping or whatever from China rolled up into the wet market that allegedly COVID came from somebody eating a bat. When he rolled up about a week and a half later, I was like, well, that's a bullshit story. Because you think for 1 second that they're going to roll him out there if that's where it originated from? Get out of here. And they know damn well they were saying it like, this ain't where it came from. Don't be blaming us for this. I blame y'all, but it's NIH. They blame it for the COVID lab that actually. Okay, I'm gonna stop. We'll get on another episode.
We'll recycle. We'll come back to this one.
We will. But
Hey,
back to
let me throw out a topic.
Okay.
Let me throw out a topic I want to talk about, and I'll start it by just saying something very simple, and then let you get the reaction. Y'all leave Erica Kirk the hell alone. Like, I'm sorry, but this is getting to be where it's kind of one of those commonsensical things. Like, I don't think there is a book on how to handle the kind of shit she has dealt with. And if your view of what you saw from her leaving that event on Saturday night is anything other than holy cow, I feel bad for her. She has been through some shit, and I am sure that she is emotionally a wreck right now. I'm sorry. You are clearly on the wrong side of anything and likely everything at this point. If you have anything critical to say about Erica, sorry, I have to get that out there.
Well, you're right. She was seen crying and leaving the event, talking about she just wants to go home. And at that time, she didn't know if that guy was there to take her out, take the president out. They didn't know anything. They just knew that a shooter was coming in to possibly assassinate her or somebody else. So I get it. And I'm sure she has a lot of threats on her life now with the craziness that Candace Owens is throwing out there. That I get down the wormhole in. I understand. And I don't
Well,
want
but
to question how people grieve.
it's become one of those things where she has become such a lightning rod that it almost seems like there's and hell, it's not just on the left. Like I said, you got there are people on what I would say used to be our side that I'm not sure where they are now, but it's like 60-70% of our nation is just looking at whatever she does and saying that's the wrong way for her to be behaving right now. And it doesn't matter. Like, if she cries too much, she's performing. If she doesn't cry enough, she doesn't care, didn't love him, and she's cold-hearted. If she goes on shows, she's greedy and trying to steal his spotlight. If she doesn't go on shows, she doesn't care about his legacy and in protecting what he built. She cannot do anything right. And as a married man, I feel that, man. That's a tough life when everything you do is wrong. So I'm just saying, y'all cut Erica some slack. She's been through a lot in the last 7 months. And I don't know that, listen, maybe there's not a rule book on how one should process that level of grief and handle all the things thrown at her. But I just refuse to believe that everything she does can be as wrong as they make it seem.
Oh, she does get a bad rap. I mean, you can't you can't judge somebody on how they grieve. Everybody grieves differently. Does she do some weird things? Yeah. I mean, but I can't say that I wouldn't if I've been in the same situation to where I saw my loved one taken out on every time I turned on social media or anything, that's all they talked about, and all they showed was my significant other passing away and being assassinated. Yeah, you're probably gonna do some weird stuff. You're probably gonna be a little crazy, and like you said, she can't do right because what is all these people fundraising? That's kinda their job is to raise funds, and that
Well,
turned into, well, she's making money off of it. Well,
and,
she's still got people
and
to feed, a whole big
let's put
company.
let's put some things in perspective too. Now, you and I take a lot of pride in what we do here, and we spend a lot of hours researching and talking about this show and building out this show. We spend a lot of time, money, and effort into this show. This is our baby. I don't think if you and I get blown up tomorrow, Brooke and Haley are going to take over this show and resume our legacy. But what Charlie was building was different. That wasn't some little gimmicky show like you and I have, just trying to get some clicks and likes and engage with some people. That dude was trying to change the world and actually having some success doing it. And
Man,
so if I would hope to God, if I had accomplished half of what Charlie Kirk did and was making anywhere near the impact that Charlie was making in young lives, I would hope that at that point my spouse would do everything in her power to try to honor that legacy and keep that going, because it was that important to Charlie what he was doing. And I can't imagine that they didn't have conversation after conversation about this. He knew he was in trouble. He knew that something like this might happen. I've got to think that if Erica's operating out of any sort of playbook, she's operating out of the playbook Charlie left her.
yeah, there's some allegedly a video of him saying that he's leaving everything to Erica and want Erica to take over as the new person in charge. Candace Owens would tell you otherwise and say that that video is altered or not available, but that is the case that it says. It's a tough one. I mean, I'll go down a wormhole and I'm like, oh, that's odd. That is weird. Now that you say that, and then I'll go, but I just can't fathom a situation to where she was in cahoots with somebody in order to take out her baby daddy, if you wanna say that. I
When
can't see that being a situation where that would happen.
when Candace first latched on to the whole Brigitte Macron thing and her being a man, like I will admit, I went down that rabbit hole because it was kind of entertaining and kind of funny. But the whole time I'm going, what are like Candace, you with let's let's call it what it is. Candace Owens is one of the most brilliant and gifted and talented people in our space these days. And for the love of God, why can't she use those powers for good? Like, and again, I kind of dug into the Brigitte Macron thing, but then when it turned on to like this is a whole different level, and it's gotten to the point where I mean, I went from listening to Candace Owens every day to go, I don't even attempt to download her podcast anymore because I know I'm not going to listen to it. I'm getting that way with Tucker. Like I will quickly read through the description, see who Tucker's got on, and I'll listen about 15 minutes. And it's clear when Tucker's going to have one of those episodes where he's just off the rails again. And I don't know how. I mean, it's easy to speculate how people that were once so entrenched in the same beliefs we had have gotten so far off the curb.
Mhm.
And as soon as that cash app from BB hits, I may go down that road too.
He will.
But
He's
for
going.
for right now, I and I'm not just singling out Candace and Tucker. There's a handful of others, but we've got some folks that within a very short period of time have gone from everyday listens to me to holy shit, that person's lost their mind.
Not to help push the Brigitte Macron being a man narrative, but when there's video of him, like, I think it was in a plane and they had a video, they were showing him out there waving and she popped him dead in the face. That was a man hit. I'm just saying, she she put hands on him. She put hands on him like a man.
Well,
And
he
he
damn
had to
sure
do
ain't
the
no man,
he
so
had to
maybe
do
she
the
has to
wave like
be.
he had like, "Oh, no, we're good, we're good." Man, you got popped, son. And she's quite a bit older, and I'm For some reason, I want to say that she nannied him, but I may be wrong on that.
Yes, there's definitely some weirdness in the whole Macron issue, but
Yeah.
I don't think that weirdness extends to her being a man. And
So
and
where
again,
that
if
came
it
from.
does, so be it. But it didn't have to be a 6-month ongoing process. Like let's look, you got the goods or you don't, Candace. Like if you got the receipts, like you say you got the receipts, show them and let's move forward.
Yeah, show me the dong is all I'm saying. And a French guy was banging a dude that looked like a girl, knock me down with a feather. If that's the case, I'm not shocked. You are not shocking me with that scenario. Nothing shocks me. So she is or isn't, could care less. Doesn't mean anything. But she did punch like a man. She got his ass out. Pow pow. That was funny
Yeah, well,
video.
like I said, he's far from a man himself, so maybe she's just filling in the role a little bit.
Speaking of man himself, James Comer is he might be seeing the man soon. And by man, I mean the jailhouse. He will be turning himself in. He is indicted once again for charges, it looks like possibly threatening the president of the United States with the old seashells that he just happened to come across on a North Carolina beach that said 8647. And he posted the video of it saying, quite a unique seashell formation. He is indicted once again on those charges.
There are countless legal loopholes that will be presented for this. That there's no way this sticks in any way, but it does. There's two paths I want to go down. First is, the hope has got to be that maybe if you can apply some pressure to him, if you can just get a little bit of heat up under there, maybe he squirms, maybe he releases something you can use. Because let's be real, that the beef between DT and James Comey ain't just about the seashells. This cat has there's some history there. There's a lot of water under that bridge
Yep.
that James Comey has been
A lot of
involved in some
Russian
cover-ups.
collusion that he tried to be a part of.
There's a lot of other stuff. So I'm hopeful that maybe this is just a precursor to get into that stuff. Look, in light of the day and age we're living in, 8647 spelled out in seashells is a pretty clear, like it's clear what you're saying. That is not up for debate. Now again, the legal loopholes, they'll be able to argue around it and the meaning's not like, I get all that. But you have to take this and I know this is a slippery slope and I know that we can't live in a system where we're a two-tier justice system, so to speak. But some cat like me with about 14 and a half followers posting something like that online just don't mean a whole lot. But you're talking about the former director of the FBI. You're talking about a guy that, even though he's no longer in that position, that dude has access to people and resources and things like that. And you can't tell me that there's not some element of going, hey, that might either be a message or he may be plotting. Like, and again, I'm sorry, it shouldn't be the case that there's a two-tier justice system. But a post like that from the former director of the FBI has to be treated differently than a post like that from this jackass.
It does. I agree. And you want me to believe that a couple things. One, that you were just walking down the beach and happened to see that somebody had put it up like that. That's ridiculous in itself. And the fact that you're the FBI director and you don't know what 86 means. I understand it has different meanings, but when you're 86 someone in your situation and your job title, you know exactly what the hell it means. Not taking into account the fact that he's already been attempted to be assassinated multiple times. It's not a funny joke when it's somebody who's actually been in that situation more than once. Or once was plenty enough, but more than once. And you knew exactly what you were doing. I don't think you should be taken to jail for it. It's a stupid thing to say. But like Greg said, you got to take it a little more serious based on your position and the fact that he's been attempted several times before. Now, the charges before, this is the second time he's been charged. The first time he was charged, they're like, oh, it was already proven that this was a silly case. Actually, it was only dismissed because the prosecutor was unlawfully appointed. So it wasn't like they was found that he was innocent and it shouldn't be the case. They just didn't like the way they appointed the prosecutor. So I'm sure they dotted their I's and crossed their T's in this scenario. So he's going to see something. Something's going to come forth. He's going to be tried. We'll see what comes of it. Possibly nothing. But I don't blame Trump. It's reciprocal. Everybody talks about he's going to reciprocate. It's because you did it to him.
Well, and not just that, and I'm about to give up all hope of any of this anyway. But at some point, you'd like to be able to look at something like this and go, "Hey, maybe at least in the court of public opinion, this has some impact." Because I'm sorry, and I know we've gotten so far away from this mentality as a society, but we should be able to hold people like James Comey to a higher standard. And I maybe I'm asking too much, maybe I just don't pray enough, but we should be able to exist in a society where former, past, future, whatever, the director of the FBI just simply doesn't make a post like that. Like, and again, is that too much to ask? Now, and I understand who our guy is. I understand the
Yes.
posts he makes.
Yes.
I do. I get it. There's nuances to this, and I have vehemently disagreed with a lot of the stuff he has put out there because of the way it's done. But all I'm saying is, across the board, people in public office, people with that level of notoriety, they got to hold themselves to a higher standard. And if they're not going to, then we, as the voting public, have to do something.
And I keep saying like you said. As you were saying, with Trump, of course, he says a lot of things we don't like, and we've called him out on several instances. Where Rob Reiner, we called him out for that. Robert Mueller, we called him out with that. But it's a little bit different scenario in the case of Robert Mueller, where he dies of natural causes, and then somebody taking him out. And in Rob Reiner, he was taken out by his son, sadly. We're not calling for people to be taken out. Trump never called for anybody to be taken out in that way. If he was, apparently he doesn't have good followers because nobody's attempted it. It's all seems to be attempted on one side. So him saying about Robert Mueller, he's glad he's dead, is a bad look. I don't like it. It's a hateful thing to say, but it's a lot different than hoping that somebody gets taken out, assassinated, or praising somebody once they are assassinated, or praising the people that do the assassinating, like in the case of Charlie Kirk, praising that he was assassinated. That's a different ballgame to me, and I don't see why they can't see the differences in that. We get called hypocrites because we're like, well, listen to what your guy says. Yeah, we don't like it. We call it out, but it's a little bit different. He's not calling for people to be killed.
No, I mean, if Cash Patel goes on Instagram and post 86 dome, well, I'm sure they're going to arrest him. Like, we're not like, look, I mean, I don't want him to 86 dome because I'm hoping she's their nomination because, God Lord, like her as a presidential nominee again is the best thing in the world going for us. But I mean, again, we have to look at that from that would not be tolerated if it was the other way around and it was a Republican or a conservative FBI director doing it towards a Democratic leader. The double standards and the hypocrisy of stuff, we all will drown ourselves in saliva trying to talk about that stuff all day. It all boils down to us as individuals and each person as an individual looking at, I'm going to control what I can control. I'm going to focus on speaking the truth. I'm going to focus on channeling my frustrations into something positive and trying to do something that has a positive impact. Because other than that, we're talking into the nanosphere and nothing's ever going to happen.
Some of us we're gonna be hypocritical about some things sometimes. I mean, that's just gonna happen. But one thing I will definitely not be hypocritical on is I'm not for violence against people for political beliefs. I'm sorry, it's not the case. And if somebody like Comey, he may have not been calling it, but it sure did sound bad. And also, speaking of sounding bad, and I don't think he meant it the way it came off, but the way he responded to it ends up looking even worse. And that's Jimmy Kimmel on Thursday night, where I did a little fake White House Correspondents' Dinner as if he was there, and he called out the fact that he showed a picture of Melania and said, "You look as beautiful as you got a expectant widower glow about you." And yeah, I get it. He probably was making it because the old joke. I get it. Understand that. But you can't make those jokes with somebody who's been attempted to be assassinated on multiple times. So that was a bad look in itself. Add to the fact that 2 nights later, somebody did come in to try to assassinate the guy. That would be a good point for you to go back on Monday and say, look, I made this joke. In no way did I mean it the way it comes off. I'm sorry that I said it. It's a bad look. What happened Saturday is horrible. No, he almost doubles down on it. He almost doubles down on the fact that it was a joke and didn't give any credence to the fact that where Melania would be upset about the fact that you made her look as if she was excited about her husband possibly getting assassinated.
David, I've got a confession to make, and I will start this by saying I was a fan of the Man Show, David. The
Man
Man
Show's
Show
good.
was quality
Yeah.
content, but it wasn't because Jimmy Kimmel was funny. It had more to do with the girls jumping on trampolines and short
Yes.
skirts and no
And the
bras
guy
and things of that
drinking the
nature.
beer out of the
Yeah,
stein.
as a young man, I enjoyed the Man Show. Adam Carolla was the star of the show. Jimmy was just trash. But he damn sure hadn't done anything funny or worthwhile in the last 10 or 15 years. Look, this it's poor taste, but the punishment for poor taste should be a lack of support. He should be fired by the network for the ratings, the fact that they're not making any money, the fact that he's just a terrible performer and they could put better quality entertainment on TV every night. Look, I mean, the joke's the joke, and I'm a free speech guy. I don't. There's the 86-47 to me carries a lot more weight than this stupid joke does. The 86-47 from a former FBI director certainly carries a lot more weight to me than this stupid joke from a hack comedian. Poor taste. It wasn't funny, but the punishment should just come from the fact that he's not funny, and the ratings show that, and that's the reason why he should be on the unemployment.
Well, it's the fairness is what I don't agree with. Um, Let me see what she was canceled for. Because if you think back, the guy that was the host for The Bachelor for a long time, he ended up getting fired because he had made a reference in the fact that one of the contestants went to an antebellum party in the South, which, that's a big thing, but it's a bad look. And he was like, "Hey, it- at what time were we talking about this? Because that was a normal thing they do."
If you
He,
went to a Southern university in the 80s, 90s, or early 2000s, if you didn't attend an antebellum party, you damn sure knew about them.
yeah, and he got fired for that. A simplest of nothing. I mean, that's literally nothing. Gina Carano got fired for posting a meme about Jewish people being treated in Nazi Germany the way the people are being treated today for their political indifference. Not wrong, not right, but is there an opinion? She got fired for that. So if ABC's already set the standard for firing people for ridiculous stuff, and this will be his second, if not more, chances that he's gotten for awful jokes that went the wrong way, he should be fired. I'm with you. I think it's probably not much in the grand scheme of things, but based on the fact that you were firing people left and right for people that would be considered look a bad look against the left, and you fire them like that, then you got to kind of return the favor if you're going to be fair. But I guess that's
Right, but
not their job to be fair.
that comes back to the us existing in completely alternate realities than the folks on the left because they don't see those transactions as having gone down like that. They don't even see it as the same thing.
They just look, they don't even think about it. They don't even put that comparison in the record books. If you wanted to get on a TV show back in the day and you're like, well, I don't know if I want to get a vaccine, fired, you're out of here. Get out of here. You can make bad jokes about the president being assassinated or having possibly been assassinated and his wife being an expectorant widower. You're good. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. I'm sure, I promise you that if, I don't know, Jay Leno made a joke about Michelle Obama being an expectorant widower back in the day, I'm sure they wouldn't have said nothing. They would have been fine. No big deal.
Would Big Mike be a widower?
Well, there you go again. There you go again. We're gonna get canceled. Thankfully, we're not making any money, so you can't hardly cancel us. But I'm just saying the double standard is ridiculous. And I'm with you. I think it was a bad joke, bad timing. I don't believe it should be fireable. But if you're gonna be based off what you've done before, you kinda got to. I don't know.
I don't see anything coming of that. But if they do, you can rest assured ABC will probably try to take the high road and claim that that's the reason why they're doing it. But the truth is, they're probably just looking for any excuse they can to get out of that inflated contract because they're paying that cat way more than he's worth.
Same with what's his name? Stephen Colbert.
Colbert.
Yeah, man. Do you not remember how funny The Daily Show was? I mean, not The Daily Show, the Stephen Colbert Show.
Yeah,
What was it called?
The
The
Colbert
Colbert
Report.
Report. Yeah. Do you not remember how funny that was? And that was against us. I mean, even
Yeah,
Jon
but it
Stewart
was
is
like you said,
funny.
it was legitimate irony and sarcasm. It was
Yes,
humor presented the
it was
right way.
funny.
No, Colbert, that whole situation, man. I wish somebody could pay me 20 million a year to lose 40 million a year. I think I could swing that.
You know, they have like 200 employees. I'm like, how? I understand it takes a lot to make a show, but 200 employees?
It
Good
takes that much to
grief.
fill the audience.
I guess you're paying them to come watch. I haven't watched it in years. I don't He lost me after the Colbert Report, but mainly because I couldn't stay up that late, but even the clips I've seen, it's just I don't want my politics right there. I don't want my politics given to me in my face like that by my late night host. Jay Leno, I never thought or knew how he thought politically. Never cared. He just was a great host. And
I
poor
think as somebody
uh,
who's been a big fan of the stand-up comedy scene for, 25 or so years, I think you can tell a lot about the direction things are going by the way stand-up comics are comfortable getting on stage and the things they're talking about. And man, we went through a 5 or 6 year stretch there was very little funny comedy going on because people were scared shitless to say anything even remotely controversial. And some of what makes the elite stand-up comics, like what makes them elite, is the fact that they're talking about real and true stuff and they're putting a spin on it that, yeah, they're saying things that most of us can't get away with saying, but they get you thinking. It's that element of surprise. Go, shit, I can't believe he admitted that or said that. That's what makes it funny. And we got away from that because people were scared to death of getting canceled. But I've been, I've probably watched 7 or 8 recent released comedy specials, and, some of the cats are making a comeback, and there's some guys now that are coming out and saying some things that are
pushing
more
the
in
envelope.
line with the type of things you and I would appreciate. And if stand-up comedy is as it has been in the past, if it's kind of a beacon of things to come, then that actually is one of the good signs. I say gives me a little bit of hope.
Feel a little bad for Jimmy Fallon because I feel like he doesn't really cross over in the political realm that much. Based on the clips I see, like I said, I don't watch it, but I feel like he doesn't get into all that, and yet he still will catch a stray every now and then from Trump. Trump will throw it at him. Poor guy, he's just like a happy, lucky, go lucky guy, it seems, but he catches strays.
Yeah, but I mean, Jimmy Fallon at this stage is only slightly more relevant than you and I are. So he stays out of the headlines because nobody knows who the hell he is or pays any attention to what he's doing.
Sad to see a show such as iconic as The Tonight Show, like you said, be irrelevant for the most part. I don't even think about The Tonight Show. Not it never crosses my mind.
I mean, to have gone from Carson to then Letterman and Leno, just didn't realize how blessed we were. I mean, late night has just never been the same since Letterman and Leno were dominant. Those two were about the only late night shows anybody knew. That's all you needed to know because you were one or the other, and they were both good.
Mhm.
But no, late night hasn't been the same since.
Conan O'Brien was actually good when he wasn't on The Tonight Show. It was different when he got on The Tonight Show, but when he had his own show, it was funny. I enjoyed him and
Conan
Andy.
to me was always he was always just that little bit too much of trying too hard. Like
He
I
was goofy.
and
Yeah.
again, I mean, he's a 6'5", big old redheaded funny like the physical comedy, like, Jim Carrey doing it's one thing. Conan just couldn't pull it off. And I'm not a hey, look at me kind of thing. And a lot of Conan's skits and a lot of his delivery, it just seemed like he was trying way too hard to get attention.
Never watched one single episode of James Corbin. However, I saw a lot of his little skits and clips, and they were pretty funny. And not enough to make me want to watch, but there were some good ones. That one he did with Tom Cruise, and they were flying. It's funny ass shit. Funny stuff.
Yeah,
But
the
that's
the Brits still have a good sense of humor.
they do. That's it. Episode 31, Greg Maddox in the books of Common Sense Superheroes. Check out Bet Beliefs, Ballots,
Beliefs, ballots, and bets.
Beliefs, Ballots, and Bets. I need to just think of them in the order of importance, and that will make it even better. Beliefs, Ballots, and Bets, Greg's daily, somewhat semi-daily podcast on his channel. Greg, you got anything you'll leave us with? I'm drawing a blank here. I don't know. I was wondering.
No,
Hump Wednesday, baby. My coffee ain't kicked in. I'm over here slurring my speech. Can't talk. I'm about to fall asleep. Rough day today, but we battled through it to get through episode 31 of our show. And beliefs, ballots, and bets. Greg, what do you got to leave us with?
I've actually done good, man. I got today's out there. I think that's every day last week, 3 in a row so far this week. I've kind of got my systems and my timing down to where I can get up and knock it out first thing in the morning and get something out there for people. I'm gonna reach out to Matt here in the next day or so and start teeing up our next episode of Weird Friends. and then I'll start trying to recruit you and see if I can get you to join in because I feel like it went better that way.
What
But
kind of
other
like
than that,
James
man, I feel
Comey?
like I feel like we're in a period of some transition. You're starting to see some good signs coming around out there in the world. Some legal things that are coming to fruition that you hope we can get some of these across the finish line. Some societal things that are giving me a little bit of encouragement. But I still think, we all just have to focus on looking in the mirror and controlling what we can control. Be present in the moment and be where your feet are, as they say. If you're, how do I impact the world around me? Because we're not going to change the world. You and I are putting out a wonderful worldwide podcast every day or 3 days a week, and
Wonderful. Yes.
we're still not having that big of an impact worldwide. But we can change the world right around us. We can change things in our house. We can change things on our youth sports teams. We can change things at our schools. Get involved where you can, make a difference where you can, and then just hope and pray that the butterfly effect is a real thing and that those things take effect and keep spreading throughout this world. Because at some point, spewing a bunch of venom and vitriol all over social media ain't helping nobody. So let's maybe try something else. Let's try to get involved in the real world and just be kind and respectful to people.
If I can be serious for a moment, which is hard for me, in light of some things that taken place in Hall County and their surrounding areas here recently, whatever is going on in your life, no matter how hard it may be, there's always an out, and that out is not the ultimate out, which has seemed to be taken by quite a few around this area here lately. Whether it's you never know what's going on in someone's life, whether they're a church member, a pastor's wife, whatever may be, a former sheriff. You never know what's going on with somebody. So be thinking and praying for those that have been involved lately that's going on in Hall County. And please, please get help wherever you may be, whether it's outside of the church you're in, somewhere you can go to get help because the ending cannot be the ultimate ending, especially not when you have kids involved. Find a way to make it happen. Times are tough for everyone. Everybody goes through hard times. I understand it. Please, please find help. Don't let that ending be the ultimate ending. I don't want to go into details, but there's been some sad situations that's going on that you just would never expect. You're like, what? How, what? It's mind blowing, but please find help.
I'm with you, and again, on one hand, you can understand it because there are things happening in the world around us that I think make all of us sometimes just put our head in our hands, and go, "Man, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to fix this or make it better." I'll put it out there, David, and I don't mean to throw you on there with me, but if you ever come to that point in your life where you think that's your best recourse and that's the answer God's given you, hey, get help, talk to somebody else before that's your choice. And if you can't talk to nobody else, talk to me. Call me, post something on Facebook, send a bat signal. I will talk to you in that moment of need because I ain't never had the kind of thoughts of thinking that was a real option for me. But I've been through some depression. I've been through anxiety. I've had some rock bottom moments in my life, and thank God people were there to put out a helping hand and lift me up. And thank God that when those moments come, that nobody was there. I turned to Him and nothing else. But if you need somebody to talk to, hit up one of us, man. We will talk through it. We will answer questions. If nothing else, I'll point you to the Bible and promise you'll find the answers in there.
Amen. And when saying your prayers tonight, say a little prayer for those affected, especially the kids that are affected in those situations that are local. But that's it. Episode 31 in the books. So, like Greg always says, get in your Bibles, say your
Say your
prayers,
prayers.
eat your vitamins, Hulk Hogan style, baby. Till next time. Peace.
God bless.